I'm one generation removed from extreme poverty. You know, if it wasn't for my dad coming back from Vietnam and starting a small lumber business, financial literacy wasn't something that we had access to. Having a meeting rhythm and having someone go, hey, here's where we are, it helps people really know how to take profits more consistently. If you're a crypto investor, whether you're new or a veteran, anytime you deploy capital, you want to kind of reverse engineer that profit strategy before the market takes off. Base camp 1, I'm going to take 20%. When we get to base camp 2, I'm going to take 15% more. And the number one reason why people don't make money in crypto is because they just don't know where they are in the market. They might be buying it.
Welcome everybody to the Save Yourself podcast, brought to you by Unlimited Wealth. Got my partner in crime, John Blaylock, with me.
Hello, hello.
And one of my good friends, Josh Rhodes, founder of Crypto, here to visit with us today. What's up, Josh?
Awesome to be here. Can't wait to talk.
Man, glad to have you. Well, I mean, I feel founder of Crypto out there. I don't want to steal your thunder, but take us back even before that, like from the beginning. Tell us about you, about your family.
I'm a dad, a husband, a son, got a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful teenage daughters, and been an entrepreneur for a long time. Just like everybody else, probably read Rich Dad, Poor Dad 100 years ago and changed my life. Yeah. Started thinking about money differently because I grew up in a rural, financially illiterate, honestly, I would say I'm one generation removed from extreme poverty. If it wasn't for my dad coming back from Vietnam and starting a small lumber business, a lot of my mom's side of the family, especially, and his, were brought up in poverty. And so financial literacy wasn't something that we had access to. So one day, ironically, mom and dad had Kiyosaki's book on a shelf while mom was stressing out over balancing the checkbook.
How do you think that came to be?
It was just sitting there, and it was one of those things where I know, kind of like books that you and I have on our shelves, like it really represents a paragon or a dream that we have, and we want to master that subject. It's like me, and I wish I was a software coder, but I'm never gonna be. But there's a software coding book somewhere on my bookshelf. I think my mom and dad knew, or maybe it was just one of those generational things. Just they didn't feel like they could. Anyway, I read it and I was like, holy cow. Then I read it again after college, and that's when things started to change. So started small businesses. I'm on round 85 of entrepreneurial seizures, and Crypto Y'all's been something that is a passion project of mine for 3 years. I got into crypto 7 years ago, which is a long time in crypto years and crypto dog years. It's a lot. That's 2 bull cycles. We're kind of 30% of the way through a new bull cycle now, and
only 30%.
About 30. I mean, we can talk about the 2 theaters of thought there. We could be a lot further potentially, but I got into it, and when I got into it, I was like, man, this is like real estate. It's like digital property. It's like the internet in the 90s. There's things like Metcalfe's law of adoption that are present here, and Web 3.0, you can kind of see why Web 2.0 is successful. I just started putting dots together, and I'm a country boy from, like I said, middle of nowhere, but it started making sense, and I could see cash flow, and I could see appreciation. I could see leverage. I could see infinite banking opportunities inside of crypto. I can see real estate movement of money and leverage and things like that. And so I wanted to dive in, but there was all these smarmy internet characters, and I was just like, where are the other normal people, I guess that are boring like me, that just want to build wealth for their families and send their kids to school and take care of their elderly parents and go on vacation and be financially free and all that good stuff. And so I ended up, as an entrepreneur, I guess, just solving a problem, which I found quickly is that there's a lot of people who just need a little bit of hand holding. They need an introduction to this new technology. And I started a little consultancy called Crypto Y'all. I wanted to merge Southern hospitality with the greatest financial technology in history, and that's why we're here.
How were you introduced to crypto originally?
This is really romantic. I saw a post on Facebook, and I just FOMO'd in like everybody else. I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum and had no idea what I was doing.
And what year was that, ballpark? You said 7 years ago, so
Yeah,
17 or so?
It was like, no, it was like 2000, 2000, into 2016 or mid 2016. And then I just, had opened a Coinbase account and let her rip. But the principle of people who pay attention was what happened to me. Like I bought it and I was like, it was kind of like a crypto slot machine when I started. I was a gamble. But then I was like, wait a second, that thing I bought, why is it going up in value? And I started looking at the technology and the idea, and I read the Bitcoin white paper, which at that time was then 8 years old. It came out of that 2008 financial crisis, the too big to fail era. And I had been through real estate problems in that time. So it was a new experience, and I just kind of paid a little dummy tax to get there.
Yeah. So you kind of scratched the surface about it, but tell us exactly, like dig a little deeper in crypto, y'all. What exactly is crypto, y'all?
It's literally a boutique consultancy. I'm a solopreneur. I'm a small owner in a larger company. We had 100 and something employees. I was acting as the president. And I just was finding myself researching crypto an hour a day, then 2 hours a day, then 4 hours a day. And then an HR problem would pop up and I was like, I don't want to do this. And then another one, and then another one. And so I was just like, I just want to go do crypto. And so I went and did crypto. But I was prescient enough to know that there's got to be a problem out there that I need to solve. And the problem was that there are 30 to 65-year-old people who don't know what a hot wallet is. They don't know the difference between a central exchange and a cold wallet. They don't know self-custody versus custodial assets and productive assets and non-productive assets and all of the things, the infrastructure, if you will, of that crypto education. And I just started a crypto education business, and now I get to go deep and narrow with a mastermind, small group of people from all over the world, and we're making a lot of money together.
And so mastermind, small group. So you have like coaching calls every so often, weekly, monthly. How's that go?
Yeah, the way it's structured is everyone who joins gets access to a learning management system, so they can like go and like binge out a Netflix drama of my training if they want to, and just really skill themselves up fast, like in an afternoon if you wanted to. And then every week I do a weekly coaching call where it's kind of like an interactive weather forecast for crypto. Imagine calling into the weather during the weather segment on the local news and being able to talk to James Spann or whoever it is you listen to. That's what we do on a weekly call. And I'm talking like I do like 3 to 5 hours of crypto research a day, probably. Like I'm just in it. It's one of those things like y'all have y'all's subject matter that you're masters of, like infinite banking and stuff. And I'm just in it. And so I'm bringing the macroeconomic, like I pay attention to the Federal Reserve and the PPI data that came out and the CPI and all that and how it affects the appreciation rate of our digital assets. And then we look at charts and we talk about everything from meme coins to Bitcoin halving cycles to yield farming and DeFi, and it's a big, big world. So we talk about that because the number one reason why people don't make money in crypto is because they just don't know where they are in the market. They might be buying at all-time highs, or they might be selling at all-time lows or whatever that is. And so keep having a meeting rhythm and having someone go, hey, here's where we are. Here's where we are. Here's where we are. It helps people really know how to take profits more consistently.
That was going to be my next question. So like, hey, here's where we are. If you're holding these things, probably should take some profits in those, to some degree. Yeah.
And ideally, if you're a crypto investor, whether you're new or a veteran, anytime you deploy capital, you want to kind of reverse engineer that profit strategy before the market takes off, and just have those milestones. It's kind of like a Everest mission. Base camp 1, I'm going to take 20%. When we get to base camp 2, I'm going to take 15% more. And so that way you're taking profits on the way up, because nobody can time the top. It's just, you're not that good.
Yeah. Question so we all have friends that are like all crypto. That's like their everything. They're going to put it all there. and you mentioned, and we know you understand infinite banking. What would you say to someone who is like, I'm putting it all in crypto? Like, how would you phrase it, or how would you encourage them to entertain infinite banking?
Just so I'm clear, they're saying I'm going to put all of my residual savings and extra into crypto. I'm going to swing for the fence. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Like how could infinite banking like marry up with crypto? Like how could they work in tandem as opposed to having to pick one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so assuming the listener knows infinite banking at this point in y'all's journey, in y'all's show. The way I use it is kind of like a dunking booth. or bobbing for apples or caramel apples. Like you put the money in the infinite banking policy first, and then it's earning while you pull out that cash balance or cash equivalency, and then I deploy back into crypto. But then when you're deploying into crypto, you need to have a portfolio strategy. You know, there's different like barbell strategies and all these different allocation strategies. But the biggest thing in terms of just like maximizing gains that I would tell anybody is know the narratives, because markets, and we're talking about markets here. We're not talking about economy. We're talking about the market that paces ahead of the economy and runs down the road without permission. It runs on hype and emotion. So like in crypto right now, there's 5 or 6 narratives, categories that have the hype. There's artificial intelligence. I think y'all can see that. It's writing on the wall, NVIDIA, OpenAI, all that stuff. Well, blockchain and AI are like first cousins. They love each other. So there's a ton of crypto tokens out there that leverage AI. There's video game narrative, play to earn, like being able to build not only games and entertainment on blockchain, but also being able to own the property in the games and earn from those. You have other things like interoperability. You have layer 1s and layer 2s. You have DePIN, which is decentralized physical infrastructure. So imagine turning all of our cell phone towers and our tracking devices and the way we have literal physical infrastructure that we live by all tokenized and not centrally ran by corporations, but decentrally ran by node operators, much like the Bitcoin network around the world is ran by miners or nodes. So if you can find those narratives, then it's just a matter of going in and finding the top performers in those narratives based on market cap and how much upside each market cap could potentially give you. So that's a little wordy response, but that would be my biggest nutshell.
And so you talked about using it like a dunking booth. Like you've got, you practice infinite banking, and so you take your liquidity, dunk it there, and then look to deploy it right now in this stage of your life, primarily in crypto, I would assume, right?
Yeah, you just baptize it into infinite banking, pull it out, and go put it into something productive.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's back up then. Like you said, assuming your listeners know about infinite banking, and you do, but let's tell them a little bit more about your infinite banking experience. So back up to like when you first heard about it, how were you first exposed? What was your education like in that when you dug into it? What was kind of the light bulb where you're like, hey, I need to take advantage of this?
Well, y'all talk about this, and the saying, it can't be more accurate. It's that I caught infinite banking. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it.
It's caught, not taught.
I mean, I had to go through a few rounds with you to really to be able to plug it into my net worth flywheel, if you want to call it that. And before that, I always thought it was something that I didn't qualify for, or that I didn't like. My ignorance was not bliss. I would put it that way. It was something that I equated to annuities and all of this other boring security stuff. And now on this side of it, I'm like, man, this is like the Mustang of financial devices, and it's really powerful. And there, I think there's a whole category. It's not alternative. It's not an alternative financial strategy. It's just like one of those things that's right under our noses all of our lives. It's a part of one of the oldest financial institutions on the planet and insurance. And but it's kind of like crypto. You just, if you're not told and walked through it by the hand with an expert, it's really hard to just do it well and understand it, or even get into it. So
you just don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
It's the glass ceiling.
Yeah. that's right. Like with infinite banking, there's barriers to entry there. There's a lot of people that will hear about it, maybe similar to you, hear about it, know about it, maybe some misconceptions. They don't know if it's right or not, but they never really take action. They don't act. And I don't think that's dissimilar to people with crypto either. There's probably a lot of people out there that like hear about crypto. My buddy has some, whatever the case may be. People have made a bunch of money. They hear about the meme coins because it's on their social media. Yes. And they're like, hey, God, man, I missed out. Too bad I missed out on that. I'm too late or whatever. But they just never take action. Like, what do you think what are like some barriers that you could take down that where people are like, hey, because of X, they're not taking action? What's your opinion
For infinite banking?
No, for crypto. Or for both, actually. Yeah, for both.
Well, I will say this. If I'm comparing infinite and crypto, infinite banking to me is way less of it's way more of a no-brainer. It's just because it complements any asset class you want to accelerate, magnify, or expand upon. It's just a great cash equivalent place to earn. Basically, like I was saying, it's like double dipping in everything you invest in. That being said, crypto has an interesting gravitational pull to it. So like it's not a get rich quick scheme, but if you're not careful when you're describing it, it can come across that way because if you look at the data, it's the highest performing asset class in history per year of existence and overall percentage growth. And at the same time, it's riddled with organized fraud, just like the US dollar and any other asset class is. So there's bad guys and bad actors everywhere. The big thing about crypto that you've got to decide is you've got to philosophically, I'll say it this way, the people who want to take control of their own destiny, they want to be self-reliant, they want to exercise individual responsibility and security, and they honestly want to create an alternative financial situation. Those are the people I talk to day in, day out and coach, and they are wanting to not only make a bunch of money, but they want to acquire the skills. Like yesterday, someone joined my mastermind. He's an anesthesiologist. He's worked hard all his life. He's made great income. He's a little behind on his retirement where he wants it to be. And he's just recognized because now BlackRock and Fidelity and everybody else in Wall Street's investing in Bitcoin, there must be some other opportunities trailing behind Bitcoin in terms of market cap that he can take advantage of and maybe make up on lost time. But in order to do that, you need to acquire a few skills. But that can be intimidating, but that's why like crypto, y'all, I'm like, I grew up in Alabama public schools, and if you can operate a Google Chrome browser, you can be a good crypto investor. So like the intimidation needs to subside. And then if your appetite is to outperform the stock market, well, you need to enjoy crypto.
Yeah. You mentioned this new anesthesiologist guy that's joined the mastermind. What do you see like kind of the ratio when folks arrive at crypto, y'all, and they're like, okay, I want this education. I want to learn about this. What's kind of the ratio of people that have zero crypto holdings and they want some and they're going to learn first? Or is it people that have some holdings, but they just don't know what to do with them? Or if they have the right stuff, am I too late to sell? Should I buy more of X? Kind of what's that ratio of new to crypto, I want to learn so I can have some, versus I've got a bunch and I need a coach?
So statistically, I'll start macro and then I'll come in micro on my little small business here because I don't know if I'm representative of everything. But like globally, less than 20% of people have a crypto wallet or a crypto account. So we're early. This is like internet in the late 90s or buying Amazon stock in the late 90s. Like that's kind of where we are. In America, I think it's higher, obviously, for westernized reasons, modernized reasons, but globally it's much lower. The people I interact with the most, I would put into three categories. Probably 20% of the people I talk to, they're just cold turkey. I've never invested in crypto before. I don't know what you mean by a crypto wallet and coin who? Like,
what?
Yeah. That's they're lost. Another, I would say, and this is sad. What I'm about to say is really sad. Probably 50% of the people I talk to are victims of organized fraud online.
As it relates to crypto?
As it relates to crypto. So globally, the one thing about crypto that's so powerful from a libertarian perspective is that it takes a lot of control out of central powers, and it gives a lot of control to individuals. And one of those features of crypto is immutability, or smart contracts have immutable transactions, meaning I can't dispute my card charge with you on crypto. I can't dispute claw it back like the banks can.
It's done. It's done.
It's done. It's done. So that's where you have to exercise judicious movements of your crypto. There's a lot of really crafty scams out there, especially in social media world, WhatsApp, Telegram. And there's a lot of people using buzzwords, or scammers using buzzwords like AI and automated bots and all these things. And they get in and they'll even create fake social media accounts of your friend on Facebook. And by the time someone knows that they've been scammed by their neighbor down the street, it's too late. And so a lot of those people come to me with jaded experiences, but at the same time refreshed that they're on a Zoom video call with a good old boy in Birmingham that they can finally trust. So that's a cool part of my business, and I really love it just from like a human perspective. Like I want to bring the humanity back to crypto. And then the rest of everyone is someone like I was 7 years ago. It's like they're like, I bought Bitcoin at the top, in 2021. 40% of people who bought Bitcoin bought it in 2021 at the top. They're like, I went down, I round tripped my portfolio, and now I'm back at kind of ground zero. What do I do? They've been in it long enough to know they screwed up. They didn't really do it. They don't have a go forward strategy, and now they need one.
Yeah. You said something there. If it's not one of your like logos or, taglines for crypto, y'all, I think it should be. I've never heard anybody say it. And that's the first time I've heard you say it, is I want to bring humanity to crypto.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems like I could hear that, and like I'm on board with like I want to like I don't think I've ever seen any humanity associated with crypto. I'd like to see what he's got to say.
It's sad because it's an awesome asset class, and it'll make our lives better. And the older we get, the more you're going to see it in our everyday lives. And it has for a lot of people, unfortunately, has a stigma of dehumanizing, especially when you've been scammed. I mean, that's no fun.
Yeah. So you said you watch the Fed, and what do you think this country will switch to a blockchain or digital currency? I mean, they've talked about it.
I think ultimately, yeah, but I don't think we're anywhere close. Wow. I don't think we're close to a CBDC. I mean, Jerome Powell said so much in front of Congress 2 days ago. Not that the Fed chairman always tells the truth, but you have to synthesize that. I think the U.S. dollar has a lot more runway in terms of just a global reserve currency and if you read Peter Zahan's book, Accidental Superpower, I think it will make a lot more sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm a crypto enthusiast and evangelist, but I'm also not one of those, rose-colored glasses people that think, the tinfoil hats are on and we're going to switch the banking system over next weekend into crypto. It's not going to work like that. I think it'll be a lot more gradual. I mean, they just found, the largest deposit of lithium in the world in Nevada a few days ago. Apparently it's $1 trillion an acre out there. I mean, they could back the US dollar by that volcano, and we'll be, forget the petrodollar. It'll be the lithium dollar, and we'll do that for 100 more years. So there's just a lot of reasons why the United States, as a continent country and a protected superpower, I think will be able to perpetuate its scam on the world in the debasement of the dollar for decades to come. That being said, Bitcoin fixes everything when it comes to the problems that come along with inflation and the debasement of currencies.
Yeah. At what point, because I'm a newbie, at what point is all of, let's say, Bitcoin mined and it's a finite amount?
That's a great question, and I have a very specific answer to. So we have mined approximately 19.5 million. That's a very rough number. So we have 19.5 million Bitcoin in quote unquote circulation. That is tradable, right? About 4 million of that is lost forever that we know, that's been documented in, whether it just be malfeasance, crime, or just lost in personal wallets. We know Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous founder, has at least 1 million Bitcoin in a wallet that hasn't moved in 14 years. The other 1.3 million Bitcoin will be mined completely by the year 2140. So we've got 116 some odd years left. So the current circulating supply is becoming more and more pressurized, which is where that whole Bitcoin halving event that you hear about comes into play. Because when Satoshi launched it, it's kind of like putting a top on the table and spinning it and walking away. The algorithm and the software and the nodes now run the show. And every so often, it comes out to about 4 years at current rate, but every 860,000 blocks, I think, is the number that are mined by the computer network that makes up the Bitcoin network. There's a halving event where the software algorithm says, nope, you were mining 900 blocks a day. Now you can mine Bitcoin a day. Now it's 450 until you do another 860,000 blocks. And so coming up on April 15th or 20th or 30th, we'll have the Bitcoin halving in 2024. And right now, interesting fact, right now we're mining 900 a day. BlackRock alone is buying like $1 billion. They're buying like 11 to 12,000 Bitcoin a day for their ETFs.
But we're only creating 900 more new a day now.
Right. So they're having to go to retail investors and over the counter desks, and they're running out of supply. So we're about to hit a supply shock, which is going to be interesting. So anyway.
So when you talk about the halving thing, and then we're going to move on, but I wanted to know this. Maybe somebody else wants to hear the answer too. It's kind of like anything else. There's going to be a bunch of those last halvings where we're going from 20 to 10 to 5.
Fractal.
Yeah. So it would seem like way sooner than that, 90 or 95% of it is going to be out in circulation. Is that true?
We're already there. Yeah, we're already there. Yeah. Absolutely. And the more nation states and sovereign wealth funds and pension plans start to adopt these things, the more rapidly the price will accrete or appreciate, and it'll become untenable for retail investors to get access to Bitcoins.
While we're on the subject of the Fed, and this is probably kind of be maybe one of the things we wrap up with, I'm not in your mastermind, but I do get your emails daily. Are they daily or are they 5 or 6 times a week?
2 or 3, yeah. 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, you sent one out, and I think I screenshotted it and texted it to you.
Yeah.
You got a couple of charts from Fred, which is
the St. Louis Fed.
Yeah, that's right. And it was comparison, and I'm gonna let you fill it all in. But it was basically how was the price of a dozen eggs changed if you had to use US dollar to buy them versus if you could use a Bitcoin to buy them?
Yeah.
Explain those two charts to us.
Well,
what it showed.
We're, as Americans specifically, but even as international community that might listen to this, that use the US dollar as the world reserve currency, since 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, if you look at the charts, we've lost 90% of our buying power with the dollar. And experientially, even in our own lives, you can see that. Like when you were a kid and gas prices were whatever, or you went to the store and bought a candy bar, now it's $4. I remember buying a Hershey for 35 cents at Hood's Grocery at the fork in the road where I grew up. It's stuff like that. Experientially, you can see it. But on the charts, if you go to the St. Louis Fed website, there's a lot of fun stuff there. But one of them is buying eggs. And it's basically just a mirror image of if you put the dollar up against Bitcoin in their buying power over time. Bitcoin, take eggs or real estate. You can buy more Bitcoin, or you can buy more eggs or buy more real estate exponentially more with Bitcoin over a 10-year, 15-year period than you can with US dollar. And we're at a point with the US dollar where there's nothing you can do about it. The Fed has to print. It has to print to pay the debt. It has to interact with central bank and the U.S. Treasury Department, and of course the large retail banks that are too big to fail. It has to continue to inflate. It's the system. It has to print, whereas Bitcoin never will. So if you start to apply the buying power of a Bitcoin that was $5 in 2011, and now, it's, above 50, 60, 70, wherever it is when you listen to this, then you're just able to continue to be wealthy. You are it's at the end of the day, what is wealth? It's your ability to exchange your currency or a store of value for goods that you need for your life or want for your life. And so if you just put it on the chart, it's really dramatic in how outpaced Bitcoin is over the dollar to buy things.
Yeah. Those charts you sent, like, to me, there couldn't be a more clear picture of the difference in a medium of exchange that is constantly inflating versus a medium of exchange that cannot inflate.
Yeah, and here's what the cynic that's listening to your podcast is going to say next. Yeah, but I can't buy eggs with Bitcoin. And here's what I say. That's like trying to buy Bitcoin with a piece of your commercial real estate. I mean, trying to buy eggs with your real estate. Of course not. It's not meant to be that. It's a representation of your assets. Think of it as property. So those charts that the Fed give us are fun, but they're also not a great illustration of buying power. There are ways to convert and use Bitcoin even as an infinite banking collateral, where you can use Bitcoin as collateral to access liquidity to go buy your eggs or your lake house or whatever you want. So
here's a question for the listener, because I have it myself. You go to a gas station, you see the Bitcoin machines.
yeah, the ATM. Yeah.
Like what are those for? Why do I just look at them? I like a lot of people. I'm like,
It's a novelty.
Yeah, like what is that?
Yeah.
Let's go touch that machine. Like
they're all, I mean,
what's the purpose of them?
their adoption and to get access to Bitcoin for people who may not have a laptop at home and internet and all that good stuff. That would probably be the best example. I've never used one personally. I too have admired them from a distance, getting my Diet Mountain Dew out of the machine, but they're kind of a fossil now of the early adoption phase, although you can still go buy them as a small business and put them all over town if you want to, but I don't know how much they're used because of how popular the Coinbase and crypto and everything.
Everybody has a phone in their hand.
Yeah.
Josh, this is like, we could peel this onion back for a lot longer.
Deep and wide.
But in best interest of your time and the listeners' time, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. We have a question we always like to close with. It comes in two parts. I'm going to ask you both parts and kind of let you answer them together. So the question is, how would you define success? And I want you to think about that. First part, 20 years ago, how would you have defined it? Second part, how would you define it today?
20 years ago, I still had a rat race mentality. So I would say the way I defined success was how far into the mouse maze can I get, and can I get the cheese that everyone else is racing for? Now, and this is actually an active internal monologue that I have with myself all the time, as many serial entrepreneurs might have, which is, or not serial, but solo. I think people who are on their own and doing their own thing, it's really easy to go, man, I am really just not keeping up with the Joneses, or I'm not, building enterprise value, or I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. It's really easy to compare that. But for me, success is my family and I have lifestyle goals. We have things that we want to experience together. We've kind of taken on we love our things. Don't get me wrong. I love to drive a nice car and go to a nice hotel, but we love experiences. And so success to me is, can I perpetuate experiences with my family that I didn't get growing up? And if we can do that and our kids look back and they want to come home for Thanksgiving, we're done good.
Josh, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Save Yourself podcast, brought to you by Unlimited Wealth.